Okay, thank you for joining us. This is the third installment of the CALI Author Training Series. The first one we discussed how to copy and edit a CALI lesson and then publish it for your students and then get access to the analytics and the grades after your students run the lesson through a lesson link. In the second presentation, we drilled down a little bit deeper into the different CALI author question types. And in this one, we're going to drill down deeper into navigation, modifying the table of contents, and branching. Generally speaking, navigation is just about how you control the ordering of the pages. The table of contents is really all about modifying the sections. So the section headings, which contain the various pages within the lesson. And then the last item for discussion for this installment is branching, which is how to set different paths in the lesson. So you can set different destinations based on a student's response to a particular question. Real quick, the navigation and the modifying of the sections is pretty straightforward, but just a quick little side note on why we would even think about branching in the first place. There are a lot of reasons you could probably come up with to send students down different paths in the lesson based on their response, but just some broad reasons to ask what the basis was for their answer, kind of drill down deeper into why they selected the response that they did select. Another reason would be to build upon the previous question, present additional information, and ask a follow-up question. And then another way would be to kind of check their position on their previous answer, right? Perhaps throw additional information at them and then ask, are you sure about your answer? Sometimes it's really helpful to reinforce some critical information that a particular topic or question might turn on. And the three examples that I give you kind of center around these three different reasons for why you might decide to include a branch in your lesson. So with that, I'm going to jump over to CALI Author and show you some examples of branching, but also show you how to modify the navigation and the sections within a lesson. All right, so this is the CALI Author homepage. Just a quick refresher. In order to access CALI Author, you have to be logged in on your CALI account, and then you choose CALI Dashboard and select CALI Author. All right, I'm going to be working with a number of lessons today. The first one I'm going to be working with in order to show you how to adjust the navigation in a lesson, which is again to how to reorder the pages. First one I'm going to be working with is case briefing. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that from our list of lessons. And I'm going to copy the lesson to my library so I can open up my own copy and work with the lesson. All right, so each page within a lesson, and again, the pages are in the left-hand side here within the table of contents, has a navigation setting at the end of each page. Now, this is mostly automatic. Like, for instance, if you were to create one page after introduction, it will automatically set the navigation to case briefing overview. That's the following page. But let's say you have a lesson and you want to reorder the pages. All right, first example we'll do is in this facts section. Notice that there is the opening page, facts overview, and then there's facts questions 1, 2, and 3. Let's say I want to switch the order of the pages from facts question 1, 2, 3 to instead facts question 1, facts question 3, then facts question 2. So essentially what I need to do is I need to swap facts questions 2 and facts questions 3. All right, so what I need to do is I need to go to facts question 1 and change the navigation from facts question 2 to facts question 3. I'm essentially telling it, I don't want you to go to facts question 2 next. I want you to go to facts question 3. So I'm going to go ahead and select the facts question 2. There's a little box. Once you press it, it will open up all of the available pages in the lesson. And I'm going to instead select facts question 3. All right. Now notice this worked. It now goes from facts overview to facts question 1, then to facts question 3, but it kicked out facts question 2 because now there isn't a page that navigates to facts question 2. So anytime you adjust the navigation for a page, you have to kind of think through the fallout, right? What other pages do you have to adjust after that in order to restore the lesson the way that you need it to? So of course, in this instance, I want it to go 1, 3, 2. So I'll go to facts question 3, scroll to the bottom, go to that navigation section and change the next page setting instead to facts question 2. All right, now this looks like it's done, but it's not, and I'll show you why. Notice that before facts question 2 navigated to facts question 3. This still navigates to facts question 3 because we haven't changed it yet. So if you scroll at the bottom, you'll notice it says facts question 3. The result would be a loop. It would go 3, 2, 3, 2, and it'll be frustrating for the students. So you want to make sure that you always think through the entire, all of the pages that have been affected by an earlier change in navigation and think through all of the consequences. So here, what we want to do is whenever you have a page that comes at the end of a section, you want to change the navigation to contents, and that will signify to the system that it is the end of a section. So I'll go ahead and do that. That'll close that loop, and now we have the order that we wanted. Another example that I'll show you with this, I was just showing you an example within a section. It works similarly outside of a section. So for instance, let's say I want to move facts question 1 to right after rules overview in the following section. So I want to remember here that after facts question 1, I want to restore rules question 1 followed by the rest of the section. So you might want to jot down what it is, and I'll show you why in a second. I'm going to go ahead and go to rules overview, set the navigation to what I want the next page to be, which is facts question 1. Okay, see, it kicked out the rest of the section, right? Because now it's not navigating to that. I'm going to go ahead and return to that in a second, because notice that facts question 1 didn't actually move to where I wanted it to, despite the fact that I changed the navigation. That's because facts overview is still navigating to facts question overview 1 or facts question 1. So I need to break that link between the two pages, and then it'll adjust. So I'll show you that. So facts overview, now I want it to go to facts question 3 because I want facts question 1 to be moved to that rules section. So I'm going to scroll down and instead make it facts question 3. All right, facts question 1 has now moved, but I need to restore the rest of the section. So I need to go to facts question 1, scroll down and change that to rules question 1, which was previously the second page in the lesson. All right, and notice because rules question 2 and 3 were still linked, they'll all follow once you make that change. So that's generally speaking how to adjust the ordering of the pages by using the navigation setting on the pages. All right, I'm going to exit this lesson and start with a fresh case briefing lesson to now discuss how to adjust the sections in a lesson. Okay. Going to once again go ahead and copy the lesson to my library. I've just opened up a new copy of the lesson. All right, so the sections in this lesson are introduction, facts, rules, holding, and conclusion. In order to modify those, the first step that you need to take is to select table of contents from the left-hand side. That will open up all of the section headings, and this is where you will be making your changes in order to change those section headings and sections. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I'm going to change the name of a section. Instead of facts, I want to call this fun facts. So I'm going to just go ahead and type in fun. Now notice that the text that I just typed in is black instead of blue. That's because it's not linked. So in all of these sections, the page that is linked is the first page of each section. And I'll show you what that means. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight facts because that's still linked, but I changed the name, so I'm just going to redo it. And I'm going to break that link. So I'm going to select the little unlink icon from the toolbar at the top. Now I'm going to select the entirety of the text of my new section name, and I'm going to select the link icon. From the protocol dropdown, I'm going to select other. That's always what we do when we're linking the first section of a page for the table of contents. And then I'm going to, under the URL section, I'm going to type in the exact name of the page that I want to be the first name of the page in that section. And note that the page already has to exist in the lesson somewhere. It can't be a future page because it has to, the system has to recognize it as a page that already exists. So here, as you see, the first page in the facts section, which is now the fun facts section, is called Facts Overview. And I'm just trying to restore it after having switched the page name. So I'm going to type in Facts Overview, select OK. I'm going to select Update Table of Contents. And now notice that the name of my section is Fun Facts instead of just Facts. All right. Now I am going to show you how to add a section and move pages into that section. So let's say I want to add a new section in between the sections Fun Facts and Rules. I'm going to just put my cursor at the end of fun facts, select enter to create a new bullet point in the list, and I will name this new section 1. Now, what I need to do is I need to set the first page of that section. First, I'm going to show you what it looks like at just having created the section. I created the new section. I'm going to go ahead and update table of contents. Notice I have the new section there, but now I need to figure out how to add pages there. So let's say for this example, I want to move facts question 2 and facts question 3 into new section 1. I essentially decided I wanted a new section. Some of these pages from fun facts need to be moved into a subsequent section. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight new section 1. That's my new section heading name. Select a link icon. From the protocol dropdown, I'm going to select other. And then I'm going to type in the name of the page that I want to be the first page in this section. And again, as you recall, that was facts question 2. It does have to be exact. So if you mess it up, all right, I'm going to go ahead and select OK. Now I'm going to update the table of contents, and it's going to look like it didn't work first. All right, look, nothing moved. And that's because, like before, there's still a link from facts question 1 to facts question 2. So I'm going to go ahead and go to facts question 1. In this example, I want it to be the last page in the section. So I'm going to switch the navigation to contents that will break the link to facts question 2. And by doing so, it will automatically move those questions into my new section. I'm going to show you another example. This time I'm going to move a page from the middle of the section into a new section. Once again, I'll go to table of contents. Let's say I want a new section after the rules section. I'll name it new section 2. All right, let's say here I would like to move rules question 1 into my new section. I want it to be the first page in the new section, and then I'll just create pages from there. All right, now you want to recall that you want rules overview to then go to rules question 2. I'm going to go ahead and select new section 2. Select the link icon. Change the protocol to other. Type in rules question 1. Select OK. Update. Again, it will create the section, but the page hasn't moved yet because the link still remains between rules overview and rules question 1. I'm going to go to rules overview, and I'm going to change the navigation to rules question 2. There we go. Now rules question 1 has moved to new section 2. All right, the next thing I'm going to show you with the table of contents is how to reorder a section within your overall table of contents. So let's say I would actually like to move this new section that I created, new section 2, to right after new section 1. I'm going to go ahead and select it. I'm going to Control X just to cut it. I'm going to remove that bullet point. And then I'm just going to press enter, and I'm going to paste it. And it's really as simple as that. I'm going to go ahead and update the table of contents. There we go. Now you see it goes fun facts, new section 1, new section 2, then rules. Let's say I've decided I actually really don't like new section 2. I just want to get rid of it entirely. I'm going to go ahead and just highlight it, delete it, update the table of contents. Now I'm going to note here that new section 2 contains rules questions 1 through 3. Now it looks like they're not in the lesson anymore. They're not in the path of the lesson, but they're still available to work with. Just because I deleted a section does not mean the pages have been removed from the lesson. So if you scroll down to this alphabetical index, it will show you pages that are still technically available to work within the lesson. They might not necessarily be navigated to, and so they might not be within the path of the lesson, but they're still available to work with. So rules questions 1, 2, and 3, if I wanted to include them back into the lesson, I could go ahead and, or facts. Yeah, I would have to go ahead and re-enter them into the lesson through other means of navigation. All right. And then the last thing I want to show you with regards to the table of contents is how to move the first page of a current section to be the first page of a new section. All right. So once again, I'll just go ahead and create a new section. Section 3. Let's say I want to take facts overview and make it the first page of new section 3. What I'm going to do is go ahead and select new section 3, change the protocol to other, go ahead and type in facts overview. All right, looks like what we've done before. Going to go ahead and select OK. Going to update the table of contents. The section heading will appear, but the change won't take effect because the pages are still linked. Now notice that I can't actually change the navigation through this navigation section in order to make this not the first page of fun facts. So you're just working with the table of contents in order to change that. Here, I want to go ahead and change the first page of fun facts to facts question 1 instead. And in doing so, it will go ahead and move that facts overview page to new section 3. So it's just a little bit different process when you're moving, when the first page of your new section is already the first page of a different section. Can't just change the navigation on the page settings. You have to work with the table of contents in order to make that change take effect. All right, so that's all I want to show you for the sections and the table of contents. And now we're going to jump over into branching. So I'm going to leave this lesson, and I'll be jumping between 3 different lessons in order to show you a few different examples. So the first example I want to show you is in the Statute of Frauds lesson. And I'm just going to read, I'm going to view the lesson only. I don't need to make a copy because I won't be making any changes. So I'm going to select this little eyeball icon. All right. And the examples that I want to show you are on page question 17. All right. So notice that this page has 2 different choices. So first it presents a memorandum and asks, does it satisfy the statute of frauds? You have 2 different options, yes and no. Notice that for the yes response, which is the correct response, it is set to just show feedback, and then it says branching destination in this little box to the right. That just means that's the normal way, right? The branching destination essentially means it's going to this navigation. Whatever is set as the main navigation on that page, that's what that means. But you have 2 different options. You also have show feedback, then branch, and branch immediately. Notice that the no response is set to show feedback, then branch, and then there is a different option in the little box to the right. If I select that box, it will pull up a list of all the pages in the lesson. So what this is saying is that for students who select yes, they continue on the main path of the lesson, right? For students who select no, they will be branched instead to question 17.1. It's a follow-up question. And first, they will be able to see the feedback before being branched. So let me show you how this works when you actually run the lesson. I'm going to go ahead and select the student tab so you can see it how a student would. All right, so here's the question being presented. Recall, I'm going to select yes for this answer, which just carries me on the main path of the lesson. I select yes, it shows me the feedback. The first answer that I select will dictate what happens with this next button. So I'm going to go ahead and select next. Notice that it brought me to question 18. All right. I'm going to go back to page 7, question 17, and show you what happens when I select no. Now recall, the option was show feedback, then branch to page 17.1. So I select no. It shows me a bit of feedback. Here it says, let me ask you a follow-up question. Now when I press continue, it will go to a different page. It's not page 18, it's question 17.1. Notice that 17.1 isn't listed in the main list of questions in the table of contents to the left. It will be listed in this alphabetical index. You can also check the map. If I look at the map right here, you can see that there's a branch from the no response from question 17 off to question 17.1 and then back to question 18. Also, another way to see whether or not there's branching in a lesson is to use this checkup tab. If I scroll all the way down, it will show branched pages. And so notice that 17.1 is indeed a branched page. If you select it, if you want to know where it's originating from, you can select the faculty tab, and that will show you, oh, the page is leading here is question 17. That's the page with the branch that will take you to 17.1. So just some little tricks on how to see where the branches are and how they're operating within a lesson. A similar example within this lesson is question 18. Once again, the yes response shows that it just shows the feedback, continues on the main path of the lesson, shows branching destination. However, a no response will branch you off into a different direction to question 18.1. Again, it gives a memorandum, asks whether or not it satisfied the statute of frauds. In this instance, a no response will bring you to a follow-up question where it says, which elements of the restatement do you think is not satisfied by the memorandum? And then you're able to it drills down a little bit more into why you thought it didn't satisfy the statute of frauds in the first place, for those students who got that answer wrong. All right. I'm going to move to a different lesson for another example of branching. Second example is going to be joinder of claims and parties. Once again, I'm just going to view the lesson. All right. And the example is on page, so it's way down here, SMJ2. All right. So notice here, they provide some facts, and then they ask whether or not their diversity is satisfied, whether or not there's diversity. Notice here that both of the options are set to branch immediately, and in each case, there's a branching destination. All right, that means you don't see any feedback like before, right? If it was show feedback, then branch, you would see some feedback and then branch. But in this instance, there is no feedback, it will branch immediately, and I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so here, give you some facts, ask whether or not there's diversity. I'm going to go ahead and select yes. It will automatically jump me to that branching destination, SMJ2Y, here to indicate a yes response. And it asks, it asks you, are you sure, right? But B and C are not diverse. It asks about the defendants. You can say no, and then it will actually branch you to another location immediately. But I'm going to go ahead and go back for a second. Let's say I say, yes, there is diversity. It asks, but B and C are not diverse. Are you sure? Here, yes, it just gives you some feedback saying you're right, as long as the defendants are diverse from the plaintiffs, so on and so forth. So this just gives, in this instance, the author is giving just a little bit more of a push to kind of think through, why they came to that response. All right. And essentially providing a little bit more critical information, some additional information to take into consideration when you're coming to the conclusion about whether or not there's diversity, right? Okay, I am going to now jump to one more lesson and show you one more example about branching, and then just show you a little tip as well when it comes to branching immediately. And this last lesson is the hearsay rule and its exceptions. All right. So C7 is an example of a page with branching. Here you see some direct examination. It asks whether or not there's an objection made. It asks whether or not the objection should be sustained. Both of these instances, again, are branch immediately. So we'll go ahead and select yes, the objection should be sustained on hearsay grounds. It will jump automatically to C7A, whereas before, you can see here that a no response would jump to C7E, right? So I'll go back. Select yes, it branches automatically to C7A, and it asks you to reconsider your answer in light of some additional information. So just another use of branching and how to create follow-up questions through the use of branching. All right, and then one tip that I said I wanted to show you is in C1. Now you'll notice that the setting here is set to branch immediately. And we've already seen what that looks like. You don't get any feedback. It jumps directly to the branching destination as is set for that particular option for the question. But notice that there is text in this response for any answer box. That will actually override your branch immediately option. And so notice what happens here. It's set to branch immediately, but it doesn't because there's information in that box. So I've gotten caught up on this before, and I know other people have as well, that if you're trying to branch immediately, you cannot have anything in the feedback box because that will override that option. So that's all I have to show you about navigation, the table of contents, and adjusting the sections, as well as about branching. As always, for anything that I covered today or for any other questions as you modify lessons, as you create your own, please feel free to reach out to myself or Deb. We're always happy to jump on a Zoom call with you and work through whatever you're trying to accomplish. So that's it for today. Thank you so much. I appreciate you joining. Bye.